After seeing some Nazis protesting in Florida, I knew what this week's review would be. Now YouTube has some odd restrictions about cursing in the first 30 seconds, so I'll leave the choice words for later. So now let's talk about 2016's Green Room, written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. It's a kick-ass film about killing Nazis that also has some of the best sense of dread in the modern era. The film is about a punk band who get trapped in a Nazi bar after they witness a murder and have to try to figure out how to get out alive. There's an utter sense of terror and hopelessness that reminds me most of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with similarly brutal violence. Both films also feature very human villains who make mistakes and have the same kind of moral schizophrenia. The first and last word of the film are the same. But even before that, there is amazing cinematography that pervades the entire film, as well as the distinct colors. Most shots in the film are, understandably, green, but it's not the Matrix green. It's a much warmer color. It's the green of trees and greenery and life, not a cold metallic hue. The film is so focused on people, living, breathing humans that are just trying to survive in their own way. And all of that's told from the very start, when they crash in corn. The band is immediately established, and a lot is said without being said. Despite a difficult situation, out of gas in the middle of nowhere, without any detailed planning, Chekhov and Maybe head off to go get gas. In this case, they siphon it, showing the financial state of the characters and their morals. Their director was in a punk rock band when he was younger, and says while many of the anecdotes and ideas are from his own experiences, he never did that. Here the editing style is on full display. It's extremely sparse, cutting between scenes after the relevant information is conveyed, without any need to linger. This changes in the second and third acts, as there is more focus on the characters' emotions and dealing with the situation in real time. But in the lead-up, we jump from here to there to there. Despite these brief encounters, the band still shows their personalities and their loving sense of camaraderie. While they may argue or tease, there's never any drama between them. It allows for the plot to be single-focused, without worrying about interpersonal relationships because the audience knows them intently after the first 10 minutes. There's also a neat parallel, one of many, where Chekhov gets his face drawn on by the other bandmates after he falls asleep, and at the end of the film, he draws his own battle paint. There's not a lot of humor in the film, but the band playing at a low-key Mexican restaurant is just hilariously funny, and echoes Saulnier's earlier film, Murder Party, which also had a number of laugh-out-loud moments. Again, this was from his personal experience, as he performed a similar gig before. After they get understandably upset at their punk host, he offers them another job in Eastern Oregon, with boots and braces as he calls them, or Nazis. There's also a key point that gets rushed over, as he says his cousin and girl are going to crash at his. This ends up being the cause for Emily's death, and foreshadows Daniel betraying the Nazis. Basically the whole plot of the film. It definitely rewards people who pay attention, with little moments early on that come into play later. Chekhov's gun, if you will. After some beautiful scenery, they get to the Nazi bar, passing by a locked fence that is the side of the final scene of the film. Punk Rock's cousin immediately gets aggressive, and it seems like it's just setting him up as a bad guy, but again it all makes sense in the end. They get their instruments set up, and then Chekhov has the brilliant idea to tell the Nazis to fuck off. In song. Too right. This also foreshadows Chekhov's role in the film, defying Nazis to the last. The crowd is unsurprisingly upset, but immediately forgets once they start playing other songs. The actors all learned, or already knew, how to play the instruments to give the film the added authenticity. The vocals are also by the actors, although it was recorded on a soundstage rather than on set. After their performance, they're all set to leave when Maybe forgets her phone, and Chekhov goes and grabs it. He discovers Emily dead with a knife in her head, and other members of the Nazi band standing around. He tries to call the police, but eventually the whole group is heralded into the green room, and trapped there. From the moment he sees the corpse, the tension is massive, and never really lets up. It seems like violence can erupt at any moment, as the group desperately tries to find a way out of there, safe and alive. From the start, it's clear the Nazis have had similar things happen before, and they create a fake stabbing with their true believers, getting willingly arrested. Again, just like Chainsaw, the authorities are useless to help the protagonists. Then the leader of the Nazis is introduced. Playing against type, it's Patrick Stewart. He commands the scream at all times, although he said that even reading the screenplay drove him to lock his doors and drink his scotch as it was so terrifying. It's real scum of the earth stuff. While the environments are fairly limited, largely the green room and the dingy bar, there are still some moments of beauty. After the lights go out, Amber lights a cigarette, and her face is illuminated by the tiny torch of the lighter. While it's a brief scene, it highlights how skillful the cinematography is throughout the entire film. At almost exactly the halfway point, the first act of violence against the group happens, and it's brutal. After an extended standoff through a locked door, the group decides to trade the gun for a chance of safety. It doesn't work, however, and Chekhov's arm gets almost chopped in half, his hand holding on by bits of sinew and bone. The group is also forced to kill their hostage, and takes a huge toll on them mentally. It's made clear over and over they're just scared kids, not soldiers or action heroes. The same applies to the Nazis, who make the exact same kind of stupid decisions. Overall, they're all just people. Some worse than others, but still human. Amber, their half-Nazi compatriot, is proven to be a psycho slicing open the belly of the dead man. While her motivation's not fully revealed in the film, in the script it said that she was raped by a person of color, and that's why she embraced the skinhead lifestyle. Trauma leading to perpetuating violence is an all-too-common cycle, and it's clear that she's been deeply affected by it. The band discover a hidden heroin lab, although it's a bit of a misdirection, as while it explains why the Nazis are so intent on killing them, it never factors directly into the story. This is also when the gang attempts their first escape, but unfortunately the Nazis have all the exits blocked, and lend some trained dogs. While the violence is obscured, the results are not, and 2 of the band are killed. The rest retreat back to the green room, where they're confronted by Daniel, the punk's cousin. He reveals his betrayal, but unfortunately it's too late, and he's swiftly killed. Violence in the film is swift, painful, and no one's safe. They make one last break for the door, but maybe he's killed, and then only 2 remain, who've been shot, stabbed, bitten, and terrorized. They decide to go full Rambo, after a story again from Stalin years past, and manage to kill the last 2 Nazis who come for them. While time is a little wonky in the film, going from 3 p.m. to night to morning, with events that seem like they take a couple of hours, it's a minor flaw that can be ignored as movie magic. Again, the chainsaw comparison, where the tortures visited on Sally are so long that it goes from night to day. The 2, Amber and Chekhov, escape and hold another Nazi captive, although he voluntarily gives up, saying that he wants to go to jail. They confront Patrick Stewart and his cronies, eventually killing them all. They then sit on the side of the road, exhausted, and that's where it ends. A dog mourns his master, even if he was a Nazi, and the 2 survivors have to figure out what to do next. The film over-delivers on tension, with a non-stop thrill ride past the 30-minute mark. The sense of malice and evil coming from the Nazis, and especially Stewart, is palpable, and the characters are interesting and believable enough that every death feels significant. The script is tight, the shots are beautiful, and the violence is brutal. While there's some minor quibbles about the timeline, and maybe a few too many red herrings, ultimately it's an incredible film. Thank you for watching this review. Be well.